Hello and welcome back to our latest edition of Standouts and Fizzouts, where we talk about all of the 32 NFL teams and their latest matchups. And today we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers. Now, everybody's got their own versions of winners and losers, risers and fallers or whatever it is. But ours is Standouts and Fizzouts because pop. We get it. We think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. No matter what you drink, whether it's Coca-Cola, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, doesn't matter. It is all great. We love it. We think it should completely replace water, but that's just our thought. Now, again, my wife would probably kill me if she knew that this is a big segment, or at least that I think that I'm continuing to push that. But anyway, big game here. Obviously, being a Vikings fan, I got to tell you, nothing beats Victory Monday. So tomorrow when I wake up, definitely going to be a little bit chipper than usual. The birds will be chirping. Breakfast will taste a little bit better. But we need to be real here. Aaron Rodgers was largely without his best offensive lineman, basically his entire, I think, first team offensive lineman, which, you want to make sure you don't make a whole bunch of excuses, but at the same time, you got to be able to take a serious look there and see what is actually going on. And when you watch the game, he was pressured often, didn't have any of his receivers. I think it was, those two young rookies in Romeo Doubs as well as Christian Watson. Like, they're not ready yet, clearly. Then also Allen Lazard, the veteran, the chiseled veteran, he wasn't in there either, but big day for the Vikings. We'll get into it right now. So, why is that? There we go. So, you saw Aaron Rodgers there. Again, I am a guy that I want to give all the credit to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers because I have been burned too many times when I don't. So, you saw Aaron Rodgers get pressured a lot there. Went 22 of 34 for 195 yards, no touchdowns, one pick. From the very get-go, though, you could just see that it might be a long day for him because, again, his entire starting first-team offensive line wasn't out there. Like, the vast majority of it. Elgton Jenkins, excuse me. Apparently, I can't say the man's name, even though he's one of the best players on the Packers. Yes, that's right. I said it. Also, David Bakhtiari. It wasn't great. Let's just call a spade there. So, when you take a look at all these guys and just and finally are able to see, and able to peel back here, what it came down to, it's the fact that they did not have a lot of their star players in there. So I think you got to be able to take it this particular win for the Vikings with a grain of salt. Again, Allen Lazard didn't play. Elgton Jenkins wasn't in. I believe even guys like Royce Newman and Josh Myers, even John Runyon left in I think it was the third quarter. David Bakhtiari also didn't play. So again, I know we're beating a dead horse here, but again, let's pump the brakes. And I believe this will be a different game when the Vikings and the Packers do come back and play in Lambeau later on in the year. So, like we said, and then Jordan Love came in towards the end of the game. I mean, we saw some good things. Like Jordan Love, if he is yet another franchise quarterback for the Packers, I'm going to lose my mind a little bit. Like, I actually will lose my mind. What is it? 3 Hall of Famers could be possibly be 4 with Jordan Love. But Aaron Jones, the Packers were able to run the football in a lot of different ways, and it was a little frustrating at first, but the Vikings largely able to shut down Aaron Rodgers and able to, corral the Packers offense for the most part. Now, A.J. Dillon also had 10 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown, so he was able to do some things. Romeo Doubs had that nice carry as well. So, but then you go to the receiving end of things. Now, the Davante Adams trade really did impact the Packers. I mean, you have A.J. Dillon as your leading running back, as your leading receiver, like that's rough. Romeo Doubs, like we mentioned, also had 4 catches for 37 yards. Tanyan also had that nice catch that 23-24 yarder early, but then after that only had 2 catches for like 12 yards. So, Christian Watson also had 2 catches for 34 yards. Like, these rookies are promising. They're just not ready yet. And I think that's kind of the big hole that you lost in a guy like Allen Lazard, who, when he's in and he's good to go, him and Rodgers clearly have a connection, and I think that, like I said, I do think that could contribute to a different outcome. But like I said, baby, Victory Monday is going to be great when we get to the Vikings here. But also, even the Packers defense, like, this defense is, I don't think people are ready for how good this defense is going to be. It held the Vikings, there was a couple of possessions there where they were able to hold the Vikings to a lot of, field goals, which I think the next meeting in Lambeau, that ain't going to fly. So, but as far as when we talk about all of these particular players that stood out, when we talk about standouts, obviously, I still think A.J. Dillon is one of the better second string running backs in the entire NFL. Romeo Doubs, I think, really is going to show up later on in the year and be one of the top receivers. Quay Walker, I felt, was all over the field. Had a total of 8 tackles. Devondre Campbell, 11 tackles. So, a little couple of standouts. Now, I'm not ready to put Aaron Rodgers in the fizz outs category yet, because I felt like it wasn't like this man literally got sandwiched between three Vikings on one of the times he was sacked. Like, I'll extend the olive branch. There were a couple of plays where he's holding the ball too long, but other than that, I'm not ready to put him in the fizz outs category yet. But again, it's also the second team offensive line. Not one for making excuses, but we also need to look at for what this game absolutely was. So, but as far as the rest of this, I mean, I got to be honest though. If we're gonna talk about fizz outs, I mean, I was hoping Robert Tonyan would have a bigger impact. Him and Aaron Rodgers were combined for something like 12 touchdowns a couple years ago. So it's like, this is also Sammy Watkins, a veteran wide receiver that always shows up in week one. He did not get the job done. You want to talk about fizz outs, those veteran guys, you need to be able to step up, help out Aaron Rodgers, be those hot key route guys, and they just were not. So if I had to say if there were any fizz outs, it would be those two. But also, you talk about the rest of this defense. Honestly, this defense is scary good. But there were a lot of times the Vikings were able to run the ball effectively. Guys like Kenny Clark had their work cut out for him. Even guys like Jair Alexander, definitely a fizz out. I'm not going to take any shots here. He's clearly one of the best corners in the NFL right now, but Justin Jefferson ate his lunch. Like, let's be real. Long day for that secondary for the Packers overall. But even Rashawn Gary, who did have that sack for the Packers, he was only one of the. He's definitely a standout. He's one of those guys that's probably going to have double-digit sacks this year for Green Bay. But other than that, this defense did ball out. In Kingsley Enagbare, by the way, how do you get the South Carolina standout in the 5th round? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I do have to be honest. I was expecting more from this Green Bay defense in terms of its ability to stop the run. Now, for the most part, the Vikings, Dalvin Cook didn't have over 100 yards or anything like that, but you did want to see them do a little bit better, down the line as well. So now we'll go over to the Vikings. Oh, baby, Skull, you're very excited because this is the type of outcome that Vikings fans wanted. This is the exact type of, especially when in the third quarter, there was a point there the Vikings were up. I think it was like 20-0. Then the Packers scored. And if last year had any feelings about it, you were just worried that the Vikings were going to give this one away. And they didn't, because Kevin O'Connell is the right answer for the Vikings. I believe he's the best answer and the best leader for the Vikings in this particular scenario. I think he's going to do a lot of great things as well. Kirk Cousins, even though he got sacked and was pressured a couple times, he looked comfortable. And this is exactly the type of game. This was a statement win for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm so excited for this franchise. I think that they're going to be definitely contenders in the NFC. And I think it's going to make it for a very interesting finish in the NFC North and in the NFC as the year goes on. But Kirk Cousins, he looked comfortable. We'll talk about the offensive line in just a bit here, but, pressured a little bit. I think he was only sacked once by Rashawn Gary. But overall, Kirk Cousins, 23 of 32, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Solid game from him. Again, he was solid. He was comfortable. He gave the ball off to Dalvin Cook, who had 90 yards on a total of 20 carries. So, I got to be honest with you. Even Alexander Mattison got to be able to run the ball and get the job done. Like, just top left to right, I felt like the Vikings offensive line, like, this is what the Vikings need to win. This offensive line to play exactly like that. No more, no less. If you can give Kirk Cousins that amount of time and give Dalvin Cook that amount of running lanes against that defense, it's over. It's over. Like, just a fantastic day by the offensive line. Now, players like Ed Ingram, I will admit, he kind of got like him, and I'll say this. I think it was Devontae Wyatt as well. And I can't even think about the player for some reason off the top of my head, but it was Devontae Wyatt. When you take a look at him on tape, he's just an absolute stud. But Kenny Clark, I mean, let's be real here. Kenny Clark just has his day with just about everybody. Just ask Garrett Bradbury. Because, I mean, let's be real. He's got a highlight tape against Garrett Bradbury. So, but this Vikings offensive line did a lot of great things. Ed Ingram did struggle in that first half. I think it was Kenny Clark that he did struggle against there. Had a couple of pass rush moves. Did allow Kirk Cousins to get pressured a little bit. But overall, you like how that team and that offensive line and Kirk Cousins, for that matter, were all able to bounce back. Justin Jefferson, I don't know what else there is to say anymore. 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he is, I think even Aaron Rodgers kind of spoke to Justin Jefferson's greatness after the game. But, you're really excited about this. Like, Justin Jefferson has a legitimate opportunity to lead the NFL in all 3 major categories, be that Triple Crown winner, the new Cooper Cup for the Vikings, if you will. So, he was just unstoppable in all facets of the game, whether it was a short pass turning it into a big game in the long game, or if it was, going long, and the Vikings just, you love how he was able to connect with Kirk Cousins. Should have had 3 touchdowns, but it is what it is. Like we said, the Vikings, I felt when you're playing Aaron Rodgers, no matter where, whether it's home or at Lambeau, you can't settle for field goals. I would have liked to see him catch that third touchdown, but it is what it is. But Adam Thielen, 3 catches, 36 yards. It took him a little bit to get going. I think he caught that pass in that first quarter there, and it was like, okay, he caught a pass for 7 yards. Had 2 later on in the game, but it is what it is. Dalvin Cook, 3 catches, 18 yards, had 108 total yards for the Vikings. Also Johnny Munt, 3 catches, 17 yards as well. So, this entire offense was firing on all cylinders, at least to be able to get the job done against a very, very good Green Bay Packers defense. And then you see it here. Jordan Hicks led the way with 14 tackles. I'm going to be real. The man struggled in pass coverage, but he got the job done. So I really can't complain. I was glad he was able to get the job done, and the Vikings were able to move on in this one. But there was just so many times. If Harrison Smith didn't lay the wood on A.J. Dillon on that, I think it was that Packers 4 and out, like the 4 down territory, the goal line stuff by the Vikings. Like if that didn't happen, I think that A.J. Dillon would have had 2 touchdowns on the game so Jordan Hicks over pursued on the play, and it led to, that's why he's not a fizz out. But you take his 14 tackles and a sack with a grain of salt, even though he and 2 other Vikings sandwiched Aaron Rodgers. It was kind of interesting. It was definitely interesting. But Harrison Smith there, total of 7 tackles, also had that pick. Like I said, but as far as fizz outs, for the Vikings, it's kind of tough when you come away with a victory like this. You know what? We'll come to fizz outs in a second. We'll talk about standouts. Jordan Hicks, he's right in the middle there, not ready to go there. Harrison Smith, he's himself, had 7 tackles and an interception. Cameron Bynum, I felt like he was in great position most of the game. Now there were a couple that you're like, I'd like to see a little bit better. It is what it is. Shondon Sullivan, I believe, there were a couple plays he got beat on. I would definitely call him a fizz out. I think Shondon Sullivan he's serviceable, but I think that there's other answers that the Vikings could look for as well. Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, DJ Wanham also all had sacks there for the Vikings. You love to see it. And overall, Caleb Evans also did well. I think he stopped Romeo Doubs from scoring that touchdown as well. But then Greg Joseph, just absolute nails, man. 3 of 3, scored 11 points for the Vikings. It's one of those things where if you got a good kicker, it makes life a whole lot easier. So, but as fizz outs for the Vikings, the offensive line was respectable. I really don't have a lot for the Vikings. I really don't. You get a big-time win at home against Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers along with the Packers. So it's really hard to find a whole lot of fizz-outs. Now, there was a couple of times there where A.J. Dillon, the run game, guys like Harrison Phillips, the linebackers, you were kind of, if there's any fizz-outs, the run game. I felt like they still need to be able to shut down the run and make Aaron Rodgers, make it harder for Aaron Rodgers to beat you, because he obviously can beat you. But that run defense, for the Vikings, I would have liked to have seen it. I also would have liked to have seen a little bit better run blocking, but overall it was a very solid day from the Vikings offensive line. But as standouts, basically everybody fizz outs, not a whole lot. Great victory for the Vikings, but the Packers, they're definitely going to be back. But let us know what you guys think. That is our latest edition of standouts and fizz outs, because pop, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are all truthfully awesome. We love every single one of you. Down in the description below, you'll find all of our social media platforms. So give us a like and a follow there. Also, remember to give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about our latest edition of Standouts and Fizz Outs, and also let us know what kind of pop that you guys like to drink. But let us know what you guys think about your thoughts for the standout players and the Fizz Outs for the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers matchup.